Hey everybody! So this is a new set that I'm going to start doing called Battle Pet Brainstorms, and really just want to talk about like things that are in Battle Pets or related to Battle Pets and any of the systems that interact with them, and how it may not have been introduced optimally, and how it could have been, I'll say, more. How could it have been more? Maybe more well received, or just have something more to it. And for the first episode, I wanted to bring on a good friend of mine, Elmsmore. Say hello.
Hey, everybody.
So we go way back. We used to play a gotcha game together, and he did some videos with me then. And he has been playing WoW forever. And took a little break, came back. He's interacted with every system, and you do like serious hardcore raiding without even add-ons, right? Like you're right.
Yeah, but I pug, right? Since I restarted playing, I don't do anything with guilds. I just pug everything. I've cleared everything, including Mythic, up to what's it called? The underground zone there, the underground raid.
Zerolite Caverns, Aberrus.
Yes, I've done all the mythics up to Aberrus. I haven't done. I got AOTC and Emergersil. Haven't done Mythic and Emergersil yet.
Mythic Emergersil, wow.
Weird. Sorry, what?
I said Mythic Emergersil without add-ons. That's crazy, man. You're like going for that, man.
I don't use add-ons. The only
so
add-on
amazing.
I use though is DBM. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, DBM is good because, it says, hey, get out of the fire or whatever.
Yep. Timers mainly. It's mainly about the timers. That's what I look out for.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Synchronizing with your team members.
Yep.
Okay. So one thing that I've seen talked about when it's regards to battle pets, and kind of like the first topic I wanted to talk about, was pet battle dungeons. Now, Blizzard has said a few times that they're never coming back. It wasn't received well enough, or didn't have good enough numbers. Not enough people interacted with the system, and I just wanted to break that down and see well, why might people have, the general populace, not have liked it as much? What may have been the rewards? How could that have been different, or the engagement? And how could it have been implemented maybe even better? And if you're not familiar with it, Pet Battle Dungeons were something that was started at the end of Legion and went through for the first part of BFA. There were 5 Pet Battle Dungeons, and it was a series of fights that you could go into. You couldn't heal. You could switch characters, heal, and come back, which is kind of like a workaround. That, I don't know whether it's a bug or something they never fixed, but they never did. It was reported a million times. So you weren't supposed to be able to heal, and you could go forward, and it would take anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes depending on the dungeon. And after the dungeon, you would receive a coin, and you could turn the coin in for a pet or some level up stones. And that was the whole system. The first time you clear it, actually, I forgot one of the rewards there. The first time you clear the dungeon, you get a portal to the dungeon that you can take from Legion Dalaran. So that is an advantage to doing it. So, did you do these, Elms?
Yeah, so I offer a fresh perspective on that, right? Because that didn't exist when I stopped playing the game.
Yeah.
So to me, this was all new content.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed them. There is replayability, but after a while, it kind of gets tiresome, I guess. But I did all of them enough times to get all the pets from the vendor and all the drops that they can drop from their bags or whatnot, specifically for Wailing Caverns. I really, really liked it. I really liked the Pet Battle Dungeons. I was like, so where's the other ones? And then, like you just mentioned, I was told that no, Blizzard said they're not making more. I'm like, what? Like, missed opportunity for raids, Pet Battle raids? That would have been amazing. Because I like the Pokemon system in WoW. I think it's well done.
I think it is well done. I think it's not expanded on enough, and it is a gold mine that has been untapped, which is why I have my whole channel. But I think that, in my opinion, one of the reasons that, like looking forward into like delves, and I think they're going to be really popular, is, and one of the reasons that maybe pet battle dungeons weren't as popular is if you look at like a pet battle in itself, it takes like 3 to 5 minutes and you're done and you can go out and do whatever. It's a digestible thing. A pet battle dungeon was like this like time commitment where you had to do the thing. And I think like being like forced into that in a solo experience was maybe what like made it feel not as fun, maybe for some people. Like, I have to be doing this for the next 45 minutes and I don't have a choice. And that's only if I get it right. Like, if I mess up and don't use the right team, and if I'm not following a guide or a strategy, it's going to take way longer than that. And I think that sort of like time commitment, people might not have liked. Like, if you could do like the delves do, and they have like checkpoints, and if you get to the checkpoint, then you can log out whatever and come back later. And I think that that is more friendly to the way that like for instance, like pet battles work. It's small digestible content for whenever you have like the free few minutes. It doesn't have to be, you know, like a full hour. So I think that's one of the failings of the dungeon.
I agree. So first time I fell on a pet battle dungeon was just randomly. I don't remember even how I fell on it. Probably just visiting Dalaran, the new Dalaran, for the first time, and I got a quest. I'm like, what is this? And I did it. So first time I went there blind, took me 2 hours and a half, and I think I started with the Stratholme, if I'm not mistaken. Took me 2 hours and a half to clear Stratholme on my first try. I did manage to clear it, but yeah, that 2 hours and a half, I was like, when is this finishing?
And that Stratholme is the easy version. That once you clear it the first time and you unlock the portal, then the hard version unlocks.
That is true. Yeah, that's true. And like you said, yeah, I think a checkpoint system would have been fantastic for that. Also a randomizer, not just to make it the same exact thing all the time. A few of the dungeons, like Stratholme, has like a surprise boss battle or whatever that can be in randomly once in a while. But they could have gone a little over and above that. Just a bit more randomizing on the battle, so it's not just doing the same thing over and over and over.
When it feels scripted, it's not fun. Like, if I went into a dungeon and it was the exact same every time, like a Mythic Plus, for instance, and it was the exact same, like it just, everything happened the exact same way that it happened last time, you know, I would pretty much just fall asleep. Like, if there's no randomness to the enemies or the level design, then you know, it's not as fun. You know, that's what I like.
Mythic Plus is boring, though, to be honest with you. Like, I would prefer doing a pet battle dungeon to Mythic Plus. I do it just for the fact that it's a good way to get gear, but I find the whole concept just a bad concept. I preferred challenge modes back in Pandaria.
So for any so I'm a newer player, so what is a challenge mode and how is it different?
So challenge modes is definitely the predecessor to Mythic Plus. It would be different difficulties, but not as many as Mythic Plus. I think, if I remember correctly, it was 3 different difficulties, and you would get bronze, silver, or gold, and it's just about speed. How fast can you clear it?
Okay, as opposed to like having a timer and having to clear it by a certain amount of time.
Having 20 or 30 or unlimited key levels, kind of like Diablo-style rifts. Yeah, it was the same dungeon. It just became harder and harder. But again, I think maximum was like a 3rd level difficulty, because they had semi affixes, so it just depended what the level difficulty, just depended which affixes you enabled. But the point was, how fast can you clear it? That's it. And once you did like your gold, you were done with it. Like, you didn't have to do like Mythic Plus and do it every week forever.
I think that is the part that I sort of don't like about like Mythic Plus, is that I feel like as soon as Tuesday, you know, rolls around, that weekly rollover, I'm like, okay, I have to at least do one. Like, it's required of my account. Any character that I play, I have to at least do one. And some weeks I just don't want to, you know? It feels like a chore, or, you know, if I sometimes just don't want to, but you know, you have to. And I'm not having fun sometimes. It's just repetitive, yeah.
Yeah, I do like the vault system that's attached to it, though. But they could have made it. Well, now it's improved. Like now, I find it way better than it used to be. It feels like less of a chore because you don't hit the second day fix before the 10 level key. Not to say that was a problem at all. Like you're a 3K rated player. I'm a 3K rated player. It's not that issue. It's just the fact that it's over and over and over and over during the whole expansion.
Oh, I think so. You bring up the vault. I think that's one of the reasons that there's such high engagement in, for instance, like Mythic Keys, is because of the vault. And why there was,
if it wasn't for that, nobody would do that.
And why there was like no engagement with like pet battles, because like with some of them you do them like I think it was the Strathholm one. You do it 4 times and you're done. Like you've went through it. Like, okay, so like the rewards that come from the pet battle dungeons are pets you can buy, and some of them cost 1 coin, so it means you can just get it on your first go through, and some of them cost 3 coins, so it takes 3 weeks to build up. At the most, it's probably going to take you 6 weeks to clear the dungeon as many times to buy all the pets. So by the 6th week, you're completely done with ever having to interact with this system again. Except for the Wailing Caverns, which has a bag that's rewarded at the end, and it's a random drop chance for a pet. So you run that however many times it takes you to run it.
And I thought that was a better system than the coin system to buy from the vendors. I thought that was way better because it's a random chance, but you get the item. So you don't have to farm coins to buy it again. So I thought that more interesting.
And they... With a lot of the pets, a majority of them actually from that, they're all cageable and sellable on the auction house, which means you don't even have to interact with the system. If you just want to collect the pet, you could just go on the auction house and buy it, instead of doing the dungeons at all. So imagine if Mythic Plus had, you had to get your gear, but I could just get like 526 gear by going on the auction house and spending 20k gold. Well, I wouldn't set foot in a Mythic dungeon.
Technically, you can, but on top of that, there's the crests, right? Because technically, you can go and craft your gear, but you still need the crests. And where do you get the crests? Well, either you raid or do Mythic Plus.
Well, sure. But I mean, that comes to the thing of like, why do people not engage with the pet battle system as much? You know.
But that's the thing, right? So Mythic Plus gives you unlimited rewards.
Unlimited rewards, yeah.
But the pet dungeons, the moment you have, if you're like me, you go for 3 of each pet. Well, you're done. There's no like random chance at getting, I don't know, maybe a pet from another place, or a rare pet, or you know, like a rare challenge once every a month or stuff like that. You know, there's nothing enticing you to repeat it again.
Yeah, there's no added reward replay value beyond getting your rewards.
Except again Wailing Caverns, where it's a random chance and one of the pets is super rare, very valuable on the auction house. So not many people can buy that on the auction house.
That's true because of there's not many people willing to run that every week for the chance to sell it. But for all the other ones that are just run it for 1 week and spend your 1 coin and then put it on the auction house, they're cheap as anything. Like that's a 20 minutes of time, so that'll usually get down to like 1,000 gold or something like that. And if you interact with like the common collector, you know, the base level path of least resistance collector, they're going to spend 1k gold in the auction house rather than 45 minutes of time in a pet battle dungeon.
Yeah, but there are quite a few of them that are valuable pets, even the ones that you buy with the coins, kind of like the mechanical cockroach. That's an average of 55k on the auction house.
I think that one takes 3 weeks.
No, I'm pretty sure that one was just 1 week. The mechanical cockroach. It's a white pet. It's not even rare or green.
Well, I mean, that can be fixed with 1 world quest.
Yeah.
I'm just looking up the mechanical cockroach.
Yeah. Yeah, that one is always like an average of 55K. Not even depending on the server. All the servers I checked, it's about the same price.
It does. It only costs one of the coins. You're right.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, because it was a white pet. That's why I figured it was one.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but that's that's going into like changing rarity of a pet. Like you just do a single world quest and you're done.
Oh yeah, you changed it, but I mean just the base to purchase it. That's why it's just one coin, because it's a common pet. But on the auction house, it's very valuable. But it has like one very powerful ability, and I'm guessing that's the reason why that one's worth a lot.
No, you mean Apocalypse? Or like interrupting Joel or something?
It has like a feign death on top of Apocalypse. So you can Apocalypse and then feign death, and like during the feign death, the Apocalypse doesn't hit you. If I'm not mistaken, that was a strat.
Yeah, it has a warning. So the user is alerted, avoiding the opponent's attack. Then the user swaps automatically with your highest health pet. So yeah, it does have a feign death.
Yeah, and because the mechanic of the feign death, when the Apocalypse hits, it doesn't affect the pet.
Well, it shouldn't hit the pet anyways because it's a cockroach type.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, but it allows you to switch out. Like you can just keep it alive because Apocalypse doesn't trigger if the pet that cast it dies. So it allows you to play around and actually keep the cockroach alive for more turns than he should be.
Yeah, there's other valuable pets, but that's the one I recall the most, because that one I actually purchased myself because I was stuck on a battle, and pretty sure it was what's it called, the underground there, Blackrook Spire, something like that. And then there was a strat with that one, and my other strats weren't working, so I actually bought that pet. It cost me like 58K or something.
Yeah. So I mean, but when you can buy them off the auction house, it does reduce the playability because some people just see a gold value and say, I have the gold and that's it. I know on like expansion launch or patch launch, I'll farm out the new pets, and this is one way I make gold is I just farm out the new pets from whatever incredibly easy system. I mean, it could be like do a world quest, turn in the coin, and you get a pet, and I can sell it for 100k gold like the first few days because so many people are they're loaded with gold and they don't care. They don't want to engage with the systems.
Fair, it's again, when I did buy that pet, that whole dungeon thing was new to me. I didn't have most of the new pets. Like my pets were old, right? So none of my strats were really working except for Strat Home. My pets were good enough, but again, that took me 2 hours and a half to clear. So when I found out about the different strats and how fast you can clear those dungeons, well, I wanted to go for those faster strats.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. You want to go path of least resistance, whatever gets you through the dungeon fastest. But even that can be like,
I almost have every pet in the game, and then on average, it will take me 20 minutes for any of those pet battle dungeons.
Oh, see, that's great. You've optimized it. But I mean, even then, you're looking at what is it? What is the last one? Blackrock Depths?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. That's what I needed the mechanized card for.
Yeah, Blackrock Depths. It just takes. Blackrock Depths seems like it takes forever to go through. And I personally, after like learning the strategies and going through on the second weeks, basically, you're just kind of hitting repeat, and you're not really like trying to come up with a strategy or anything. You're not trying to have any sort of invention to your ideas. You're just following the script you've created. And I think that having no variance to it and just following the same script every time is also what, like, for me at least, just made them a little bit boring.
No, to me, that didn't affect it to me, but that's why I mentioned the fact that a randomizer for the wider audience would have been more interesting. And when I mean randomizer, I don't mean just a different pet every time. I mean randomize their abilities, maybe randomize their attack, their speed. Because if it's just a pet changing, well, again, if you encounter them like on a systematic fashion, well, again, you'll eventually just have a repeat. You just swap out the teams and you repeat. But like if you swap out their strengths or the ability of the boss battles within those dungeons change, that's a real randomization.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would want to see more randomizations like that in the dungeons. I mean, it would just allow you to like
more rewards, to be honest with you, because that's what brings players back to those things, right? Like we just discussed, Mythic Plus is boring, but because there's always a reward to go get.
Yeah, like my partner, she plays like Mythic Plus like religiously until she gears out. And once she gets like geared out, that's, you know, that's a little bit. It's like once a week, maybe that's it, you know.
Something for everybody. For example, in season 3, they added new items to each of the dungeons within the Mythic Plus rotation. So a lot of people like Mogs. I'm not one of those, but the people who like Mogs kept doing it even if they were fully geared until they got those new items that were added by Blizzard, and they were only added for that season specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a reward-based game. I don't know if it. I mean, it wasn't always like that, I think, but I think that's the state that we live in now. And sometimes people don't even need rewards specifically. Like, how many people play Mythic Plus, for instance? I mean, I keep comparing it to Mythic Plus because it's a dungeon. You know, we're talking about Pet Battle Dungeons, and that's the dungeon system we have in game. And with Mythic Plus, people keep doing it even after they've gotten their character to max, after they've, you know, gotten full Mythic in every slot, because they want to see their IO score go up. They just want to see number get big, and because that's fun. But whenever you don't have any numbers attached to it, there's just no reward structure. I think that
and then it's just repetitive. Like they could have added the pet battle charms to it. You know, you run it for pet battle charms. They could have added a vendor that would have a use for those pet battle charms aside from the tokens that you get from there. Just more replayability value.
If I were to run it and I would get you know, like pet battle charms, but it was like a lot of them, yeah, I'd run it. You know, if I got like 300 or something, the equivalent.
You have the choice, right? You do 1 million world quests that give you maximum 20 apiece, or do a pet battle dungeon that gives you 150, for example.
Yeah,
well, you might want to do that instead.
Yeah, but you don't have to fly all around and, you know, lose all that time.
The portals was the best value for those places.
The portals are fantastic, but so you look at the current like Mythic season, right? And for raids, and if you clear all the raids on Mythic, you get the portal to the raid instance. So it's the reward for the portal is on the highest difficulty, but for Pet Battle Dungeons, the reward was on the lowest difficulty for the portals. So all you have, if you were a person that likes portals, like in Mythic Plus, you know, right now you have to do your Mythic 10s, which are very hard. You get the portal to the dungeon. But what if it was just do the AI follower and you get the portal to the dungeon? That's kind of what Pet Battle's dungeons were for the reward of the portal.
Yeah, and then again, that would lower your replayability value for Mythic Plus at that point, because a lot of people only care about the portals there, and then they stop Mythic Plus. I mean, there's a wide range of players for Mythic Plus as opposed to Pet Battle Dungeons because of all the different rewards that are never ending.
Very agreed. I mean, people like transmogs, and transmogs come from every system, basically except for Pet Battles. There's like 2 or 3 transmogs that come from the 12 years of Pet Battles, but that's about it.
Yep.
So if there were just, you know, even some just transmogs that came out of there, then I think that would be okay too. Everything doesn't have to be pets, but don't put alternate rewards like I think people really don't like it in the game whenever they're like a specific collector. Like if the reward for like collect 600 mounts is a pet, you know, people don't like these alternate category rewards for the thing that they love collecting. So don't mix and match, you know, but don't force somebody who's a mount collector to go through all the pet battle dungeons to get a mount. Because
ultimately, if they just add, like I said, just for me, that would have been enough for free. Well, I still do them, but not all of them anymore. I just mainly do Wailing Caverns now because that's where the most value is. But if they added, like I said, you get 150 pet charms or 200 pet charms, I'd be doing them all rather than flying all over the place for the world quests.
If you got the bag and the bag at the end of, say, Wailing Caverns had more than just that one pet in it, you know, like it had a series of rare pets in it, more than just the one. I don't know. There's lots of different rewards that could be implemented. And the fact that you can just clear it in 6 weeks and be done with the rewards. And some of the dungeons, we've talked about like selling it on the auction house, but there are some of the dungeons where you can't sell them on the auction house. So you run it once and you get your pet and you can't sell it. So for like you who want to make money off of it, you know, you have that replay value, because that's the only replay value that exists is going through it to sell them. There is none because you can't cage it.
Yeah, a good comparison, if we want to just talk about pets, and a good comparison to another one that doesn't have much replayability value once you have your pets, is the legendary pet battles in Draenor. Like, the moment I got my Seaborn Spore and all the other pets, I stopped doing them. For one, they're quite difficult.
Yeah.
And two, they're not that rewarding, and the drop rate for those pets that I'm talking about are very, very low. So the moment I got them, I was done. But dungeons to me are more fun than those, but same issue, not rewarding enough.
See, I enjoyed those because I liked flying around the Tanaan jungle and just being able to like sort of, you know, put it down, being able to heal in between them, trying different strategies. And if I only felt like doing 4 for the day, then I only did 4. And I kind of liked that aspect of it, how bite size it could be, or I could have them all. So however big my appetite was for the day is however many of the different battles I could do. And yes, I enjoyed that.
In the world, you make your own checkpoints in that situation, for sure. For sure. That's like you said, checkpoints would be amazing in pet battle dungeons. So you don't have, you know, if you don't have all the good pets and it takes you like my first time 2 hours and a half, well, you can choose to put it aside rather than say, oh, I have to finish this. If not, I'll have to start over. God.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen with the pet battles is, for instance, in Blackrock Depths, the final boss is, or not the final boss, I'm sorry, the orc, Zuna Skullcrush, I believe. Yeah. She's
by far the hardest of all the pet battles in there, but
in the game, she's probably in the game one of the hardest.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I liked that one the most out of all the dungeons, just because it was an arena, so I didn't have to run through the whole dungeon to fight all the enemies. They just came to me. So I actually quite enjoyed that. And like you mentioned, and that one does have a slight randomizer where it's not always the same bosses you encounter. You can, I think there's a total of, it's random between 14 different bosses you can encounter. You fight 6 or 7 of them, but out of 14. Anyways, that was my favorite one. But yeah, Zuna, the orc chieftain or whatever she is, she was the hardest.
Yeah, it's 9 stages, and at stage 3, stage 5, there are multiple choices that can happen. But the thing with Zuna is she's dramatically tougher than even the final boss, and to the point to where she's almost like untestedly tougher. So if I am a casual player who is just going through and not looking up a guide, I might not be able to beat her, but everybody else in the dungeon, including the final boss, I could beat. Some of them incredibly easily. So the difficulty, or I guess testing between the different fights just didn't feel like there was a balance between how difficult each trainer is. So I think that for me is a drawback to the dungeon itself, is you're not getting a guaranteed level of difficulty in the dungeon. It's just this one trainer is hard because it was just programmed that way. And
there's no consistent level of difficulty, I think is what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Because she's like 3 tiers before the last boss, and she, like you said, I mean, that is debatable though, because you have to figure out a good strat for the last boss. But when you do have a good strat for the last boss, yes, she's still the hardest, because you really have to be precise on your attack and speed for each of her encounters. It's crazy.
In the alpha and beta testing, she apparently, like Zuna Scroll Crush, was unbeatable, and whenever she came to the live server, it was apparently like weeks until they tuned her down. She literally could not be beaten, and they had to tune her down because there was a 0 player success rate of defeating her. And like, I don't know if they had that happen with raid bosses in like Cataclysm, I want to say, and it started like so much backfire on everything, and you know, the whole like mathematically impossible and all of that. But then with Pet Battle Dungeons, they're like, it's fine, we'll release a patch later, it's okay, it's whatever. And so I think the level to which they seemed like they just kind of didn't care also made people not want to engage with the system. Like they're like, it's broken. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's disparaging, because you know, you can notice when the devs don't care about something they released, or they're released half-heartedly.
Yeah, and so I think with not tuning it to be defeatable even by the strongest players, I think that's a drawback. But yeah, going back to sort of how do you think that somebody that does not engage with pet battles, how could they have sold this system, the pet battle dungeons? How could they might have put a little bit more bait on the hook, but not like angered those players? Like the person who really enjoys like Mythic Plus or PvP or raiding, how could they have enjoyed pet battle dungeons maybe without being forced to do them?
Well, like I mentioned, I mean, everybody that plays this game has shiny syndrome, so I think it's just it comes down to rewards, the reward system for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that one of the things I really like with the reward with the pets is that they're, even within the same pet, there are alternate colors. So you could run it through and get, I'll say, let's see here. I'll say you can get Timeless Mechanical Dragonling. You know, I'm just a randomly good pet, but you can get a different color of it, but it's the same pet. So you can get like that variant, that shiny version of it.
That's still a reward. That's still very nice, right? You'll be unique because you're beating a difficult content of that type, and you're like rewarded.
What if
whatever color you want, you put on your pet? That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Or what if like you run the Seaborn Spore, right? And this is a system that they have. It exists. So you run Seaborn Spore until you get it, but you get the brown Seaborn Spore and you want the green one, you know, and it's the same pet. It's the same ID, and you just want the shiny version. Well, you're going to run it way more times.
Yeah. Like, let's say they had a... what's that platform called where you can customize your dragons from Dragonflight?
Or the rostrum of transformation?
Yeah, so imagine if they had that, but for pets. So you beat the dungeon however many times, and then one of your pets you can customize the way you want.
I could see that.
Again, it would just be a skin, right? So the ID wouldn't change or anything, but you would customize your favorite pets to the way you want them to look.
In whenever they implemented pets in like 5.1, there's an interview with the dev, and he was talking about like how hard it is to like put like hats and things on pets, and how you could instead maybe do like weapon enchants, and how weapon enchants have like, you know, like a blue glow or like a red, you know, phosphorescence to them or whatever, and how that system could be applied to pets, and it could be a potential reward. Now, we never saw that, but it was a discussion that was had internally.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up, because how many pets did they release recently that has hats or glasses or whatnot?
That's true.
Or
they
swords or shields.
they
So,
do.
I mean, they are doing it.
But it's not a change that you put on the pet. That's the pet's default model.
Yeah, for sure. But how harder can it be? Like, if they're already doing it for How to Train Your Dragon, like how harder can it be for? Because there's still a good player base that likes the pet battle system.
There is. And
We're not talking like 1,000 people. We're talking like about 100,000, if not more.
There is, but I think that's the thing for me. I love the pet battle system, but often I don't engage with anything other than the PvP system or a few world quests, because I've got all my pets, and I don't have to go back and run the pet battle dungeons once I cleared them through.
Yeah, and again, why is that? Because there's nothing else for you to go get. So
I can
extra rewards of any kind. Like I said, just pet battle charms at the bare minimum for me, that would do it.
I can spend my time, you know, reading a nice book, or I can go through the pet battle dungeon. I really enjoy pet battles, but like for a upgrade stone, okay, I'll just do 3 minutes of a world quest instead.
Exactly, right? It's time management too, right? So
nobody wants to feel like they've wasted their time.
It was like I finished raiding or something, like I finished a long raid or whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna try this pet battle dungeon. And again, it was brand new to me. But when I saw that it took me 2 hours and a half to like, I went to bed. It was like 3 a.m, like, because it was like after raiding at night. And I'm like, oh my god, this took forever. I never expected it to be so long. And again, it was new. I didn't know any of the strats. I came up with it, and that was the fun for me, was to figure out how to beat the bosses that you encounter and stuff. But it was like, it felt so long that first time.
So here's bringing up some part of our history here. If you remember how like Dark Visions worked in Brave Exvius, if they could work something like that. So for those that aren't familiar, it was a mobile gacha game, and there were you would take your team in, and you would defeat the first boss, and then it unlocks the second boss. You can start the second boss whenever you feel like. Each boss is really hard, and you may get kicked out a few times because you may not get it right. But once you've done the first boss, you can go and do the second boss. You can also go back and do the first boss to try and get a better score, and until you get like what is like a max score on each boss. But you can only do the next boss until you've completed the previous one. But you can always log out at any time. And I think that is a fantastic like system to look at for like time management, in reference to like how a dungeon could work here in pet battles.
Yeah, or like you said, just add checkpoints, right? It would come down to the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Dungeon experience.
It's, you don't want to be locked in for 2.5 hours. And I'm not trying to like defame anybody here, but you're an incredibly experienced player. And you can see all the strategies there. Some people aren't. So some people are going to go into a dungeon like that, have little experience with pets, and be just like hammered with this. They'll get all the way to the end and they can't be the last boss. And now they get no reward and they quit. They leave the dungeon with no reward because they couldn't beat the last boss, and it's now raid time. Because they thought they were going to get it done in 2 hours.
Weird reward system wouldn't be bad. But like I said, any type of reward they could add to it would improve it. But a tiered reward system, like you beat the first guy, you get this. You beat the second guy, you get this much more. You beat the third guy, you get a little more. You know what I mean? Like, even that would be amazing. Any type of change to that, I think, would add replayability, and the people that do enjoy pet battles of any kind, they would go back to those.
What do you think about how it was queued for?
Oh, I think that was great. It was just like queuing for a dungeon or a raid. I thought it was fantastic. But my first experience wasn't queuing because I didn't know about that. So I actually traveled to those locations, and then there's an NPC outside, and I would talk to them, and then I would go in.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Do it from Dalaran or whatever with the portals afterwards.
Oh,
I
yeah.
actually kept going there physically.
So, I mean, I do enjoy that, like going there physically, but nobody wants to travel there all the way there every time. But I think that's one of the benefits of like LFR or other casual systems is that you can queue from anywhere. And if the casual version of that you could have queued from anywhere, or perhaps you could.
Oh, you mean like an actual LFR queue where you just go to your dungeon tab or whatever you want to call it?
You're like, I would like to do a pet battle dungeon. Yeah,
that would be an extra bonus, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go to Dalaran and then speak to the chick, or, once you have your portals, I mean, for example. Or you don't have to physically go to the location. That would be something extra. It would be nice. But something else that I would have liked to, when I was doing it for the first time, I was like, that was a dungeon, but I was thinking, did they add raids? Because I didn't know, right? This is all new to me. So by talking to friends that kept playing, they explained that no, there's no raids. They're not supporting this anymore, blah, blah. But it would have been nice also to have like team battles where you could go in with a friend, and then you would face it, you would have your teams, and you would face an NPC with your teams, and you would strategize and tell your friend to do this ability, and then you do, again, turn-based, but it would be fun with a team.
I agree. And that's also like some of the most fun of WoW is doing things with a team or friends. Like if Mythic Plus was just doing the AI battles, the AI follower dungeons, I definitely would not do it at all. I kind of like the whole like, oh man, I got into a bad pug, or man, this guy's great, he's totally carrying me. I love the like surprise that happens there sometimes, and I like going in with friends, guildmates, whoever. I like going in with them. Sometimes it's like, oh man, I didn't play for the first 3 weeks of the season, I'm gonna have my guildie carry me through, and that's cool. But pet battles, I couldn't, like, if you don't have that many pets, I couldn't be like, okay, do you want to go through the pet battle dungeon? I'll carry you through the dungeon. You won't have to do any of the fights except for, like, you can just come with me, and you can get the reward at the end, but you're going to have to, be with me through the fight. And there's just no sort of like multiplayer aspect to it. Even
not at all.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the hindrances. But also a lot of people like playing solo.
Yeah, but it would be an option to be like at least 2 players. That would be nice. Like, you don't have to be 2 players, but optionally, that'd be nice. And again, I think that would have worked better if there actually was like a pet battle raid, because that's what I'm really looking forward to when I saw pet battle dungeons. Where's the raid? I want to try that out.
The closest we have is there is an NPC on Forbidden Reach, where it is a very difficult to defeat wild pet, and it's a world quest, and it changes which pet it is per day. Vortex is one of them, and there are like 6 like frogs around it, and any player can defeat one of those 6 frogs, and whenever they do, it reduces the difficulty of Vortex, the main boss pet. And whenever you've reduced the difficulty all the way down, it's actually defeatable and capturable. And that is the closest that we have to multiplayer in pet battles. Is that one?
Okay, then I thought you were saying that that's the closest to a raid. I'm like, no, I disagree. But I get what you're saying, that if there's multiple people there, they can all go kill a frog to make the thing weaker, and then everybody can go and get an easy win on the boss. Yeah, for sure. That is the closest thing to multiplayer. I agree.
And I mean, I wish we had more, but we don't. But that for another video of multiplayer stuff. But with the dungeons, better rewards, better ways to get into the queue. Checkpoints, definitely.
More randomizing, like you said. Yeah, they have a couple of bosses that interchanged in a few of the dungeons, but not all of them. So a bit more randomizing, I think, would make it more interesting. But again, I would emphasize that this game, like you said, it's a reward-based system game, and I think just adding more value to your time doing that stuff would be the most important.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a system that gets engaged with, every day forever. Like Mythic Plus is fun because you do it for the season and then you don't have to do those dungeons again. So, I mean, people aren't going back and clearing, Blackrock Hold anymore, for their weekly or whatever. And Pet Battle Dungeons can be the same, you clear it for...
That's where the shame is because they gave up on that, so there's not that many dungeons. But imagine if they kept going, and then there could have been a seasonal thing where, okay, you do these Pet Battle Dungeons this season, you get such and such reward, which is new.
Well, I think they overloaded themselves because they released 5 Pet Battle Dungeons in just a few months. And if they would have released, just 1 per season, I think that would have been, a lot better for them, because I think they probably had too much work on a single dev to try to get like all these Pet Battle Dungeons done. And I mean, there's a lot of tech that goes into it that we don't even, see. It's like, oh man, they're without the dungeon itself working like it normally should, this thing is happening, or you can fall through the floor here. There's lots of crazy stuff that happens whenever they're designing anything. They put in just a little bit of new code here, and it can mess up how swimming works in Pandaria. You never know. So the dev that was working on the Pet Battle Dungeons, it seems like, was trying to put out too much content, I think too fast, and that may have led to its downfall because there wasn't enough quality, I think. I mean, I enjoy the dungeons, but if they would have just paced them out from the time of the end of Legion to now, we would have 3-4 times as many. And we'd have something to look forward to with each season, is getting 1 Pet Battle Dungeon.
Well, they haven't. For sure. Like they haven't given up on the Pet Battle system. So I hope they innovate on it, because right now it's just doing the same thing over and over, and the people that do it are just the people that really enjoy it.
Well, so the inception of the pet battles, and I think a lot of people go, like designers at least, I've watched a lot of interviews trying to prepare for the series from like devs and stuff like that. So what they often talk about, at least in the first interviews whenever pets were released, is that the pet battles system is a way to interact with your pets, but the ultimate goal is it's a collection-based game. And so you should always be collecting more pets, and that should be all of the reward, essentially. And I think that doesn't have to be all of the reward. I think that variants to the pets, like if I want a timeless mechanical dragonling, but I want it to have a blue tint to it instead of a green tint, I mean, that can be a different type of reward. It's the same pet, it's the same collection, but I want to collect the slight color variants to the one that I want. And so I think that there are different ways to implement just collecting, and I think that the battle system is like it's really great. It just needs to be worked on a little bit more.
They did that though. Don't forget now there was that was it Noble Garden where you can collect different colors for your duck. So they started doing it. You're getting your wish.
Oh, well, no, Noble Garden is you collect different colors for the duck over the course of the next 6 Noble Gardens or whatever. But that is
exactly. So if they,
that is a toy.
Yeah, that's true. It's a toy. I thought it was a pet.
No, that's a toy.
So they can implement it for pets since they can do it for the toys, right?
Well,
You have to collect it over 6 years.
well, I mean, it already exists with pets. Right now I run whatever the name of the instance is, Circle of Stars, I think, in the BFA Ashara raid, to try and get the one pet from there. It's a little nameless octopede, and it drops off of the first boss in that LFR. And there is a very small chance that whenever you get that pet, it won't be the normal version of the octopus. It'll be that octopus, but it has an eye patch. It's the same exact pet.
Oh, right. Yeah, but there's stuff like that across the game. But I meant by you having control over it. Like you get an item that when you want to choose the color, you can choose the color. Not
so like
a random pet that will have either a color variation or will be sparkling or have a pirate's hat or an eye patch or whatever. But that's completely random.
So there's that's kind of close to like the follower system in Warlords of Draenor for your garrison for missions. So you would have your follower, and it would have had skills. Some of them were good at like fishing. Some of them were good at like orc hunting or whatever. And you would send them out on different missions for your mission table. But occasionally you could get items that would allow you to re-roll the traits on your follower. So now they're not good at fishing anymore, and they would be good at something else. So the tech of like interacting with some like a NPC, because those are NPCs, and re-rolling parts of it, like changing its code, it exists. Like you can re-roll the stats on those followers, so why not re-roll the colors on your pet? Or sometimes it's even like full model changes.
Or in the same line of that, why not re-roll the abilities of your pet? Again, these are all things that can make it more interesting. Imagine if you could have, I don't know, like you just said, your octopod, but instead of splash, he'll have feign death, or he'll have apocalypse. Like that would be so cool if you could choose to change out, because you really like your pet. You want to always use the same pet. But what if you could choose to change their abilities around rather than just having a choice between 2 per tier?
I really like the idea of that, like having different skills available, rather than just the 6 and an either or choice between each. But yeah, there's lots of different things that could be introduced to be different reward systems for the dungeons. And I think if it was just like 1 dungeon per season, that way it's still casual, but it's kind of like always there, and there's like a reward you can get. Like I think that's one of the benefits of with the seasons is the achievement for doing something in a season. Like imagine if you run the pet battle dungeon, I'll say Ruby Life Pools. So run the pet battle dungeon in Ruby Life Pools during season 1 of Dragonflight, and you get this, X reward. And it's from the achievement, just like getting the mount or whatever. So I think if there was more rewards for doing it like on time, that could have also been great.
Yeah, and another missed opportunity for those dungeons, or again, if the raids existed, but specifically talking about those dungeons, since the creation of pet battle system and WoW, I always wondered where the legendary pets were for us. You had legendary pet battles, but why did they never introduce a tier for a legendary pet? Why can't you have at least, I don't know, like maybe it would be a super rare token that you would only get through those dungeons, and maybe even only once, but you could make one of your pets a legendary quality pet rather than all being capped at epic.
So I have a theory about that, and it goes towards sort of my larger theory about pets entirely. And so in the interviews in like 5.2 and 5.1, just like Mr. Pandaria, they're creating the system. They say that in 5.3, 5.4, and in 6.0, which is Warlords of Draenor, you'll be able to level up your pets past 25. You'll be able to catch epic or legendary pets for yourself, add them to your teams. There's like all of these steps that came out that were supposed to come out that never did. And if you look at the same news at the time, Warlords of Draenor was a expansion that took a year longer than it was supposed to come out, and it was hemorrhaging, and all internal reports say that the Warlords of Draenor system kind of like was all hands on deck for like garrisons and things like that. Like they took everybody who knew how to program and put them on like all of the Warlords of Draenor garrison tech and things like that to make sure that the expansion and the box feature that they were trying to sell was actually going to work. And it was apparently a little bit of a shit show going on there to try and get Warlords of Draenor out. And I think what happened was that the people working on the pet team who created it and had all these plans, they were the pet team. And then Warlords of Draenor is experiencing those problems. And so they dissolved the team and absorbed them into garrisons and other systems. And for that expansion for 6.0. And the team never got back together, and pets became a whoever has time to work on it can just work on something whenever they feel like it if they have enough motivation, but don't let it affect your daytime job kind of thing. Now I can't verify any of that because I've never like interacted with anybody that's like on the Pet Battles teams for WoW, and they don't really like come out and talk that often, but I would love like to know like how they work currently. But that's my like I'll call it a pet theory of why we don't have legendary pets, why everything stayed at level 25, which I actually think is a good thing, and why everything sort of like stopped at basically 5.2 for the design of the Pet Battle system.
Yeah, and the level 25 thing never bothered me.
I actually think it's fantastic.
Sorry?
I actually think the 25 thing's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's easier for balancing too. But I really always wanted to at least have, like, again, it would be ultra rare, but you would have a legendary pet.
I think that ultra legendary pets are great. So whenever they first tried to introduce the unborn Valkyr, she would spawn anywhere in Northrend, and that would be it. Like one or two would spawn somewhere in Northrend in a whole Wrath of Lich King zone, and players hated it because unborn Valkyr was ridiculously good, and they called her a legendary pet at the time, and she was really good, like kind of broken, and but also incredibly rare. But it wasn't rarity that the player had control over, so they just raged like WoW players tend to do. And I think that if there was a legendary that was introduced in a way that you have control over, like if you want to go for it, you can. Like the Insane title, for instance. Like it's not RNG, it's something you can definitely go for. If you want to be insane. And I think that as long as legendary pets were implemented in a system in which you could get it and it was super rare, but it required that time investment. I like that, but it has to, don't put it on random, Random never feels good.
That's why I think the dungeons were a missed opportunity. What if they rewarded you, after so many attempts or so many runs, boom, you get one legendary pet.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the the detracting steps is in. I mean, it would be great to get a legendary pet in that, but what you would see is just a script for do this on this turn, do this on this turn, do this on this turn. You get legendary pet, whereas like getting like the gladiator, and if that was like the reward, it's not really that hard to do. You just follow the script. And which is incredibly easy for anybody to just follow the script. In Mythic Plus or rating, for you to get like CE or even like a rating of like 20 or 2000 or something like that, you actually have to have like a level of skill. You're not just following a script that somebody else created. And I think that is one of the drawbacks to the system. And as far as dungeons go, and a reward for the dungeons is like you can just follow the script and get the reward. So it's not hard in that respect.
Yeah, so that's another thing they could have improved on while we're on the subject. But, there's so many things, and let's start one by one. We kind of denoted everything that they could improve on. Maybe one day they'll choose to resume it, and I hope so. Certainly hope so, because I do like the pet battles in there.
I think they're absolutely amazing, and I mean that's one of my goals with this series is maybe there's somebody listening out there, and maybe they can take it to their boss and go, see, somebody out there has some ideas, and maybe something happens. Not saying that any of these ideas get.
No, we know they have the ideas. But the thing is, they have to recognize that there's a large player base.
Exactly.
That likes it. It's not the whole player base, but it's still quite large.
There's some of the there's a reason they're like one of the number one companies out there. They have a lot of smart people. They've thought of these things. But I think that it's getting it received right by the player base, implementing it the right way at the right time.
That is a big thing too, implementing it at the right time. Like one thing that irks me about Blizzard is for a while something cool comes out, but then there's 20 other things to do alongside it. It's too much. Why don't you spread out the cool stuff rather than put it all out at the same time?
I mean, if you're
as an example this week, the remix is fantastic.
Cataclysm.
And there's time walking to do. There's always Mythic Plus to do. Like, there's just too much. There are Awaken raids to do. Blah blah blah. Like, find a way to spread out some of the cool stuff. Like, there's always some event or holiday thing that sometimes they put out at the same time as there's a new raid release or a new dungeon mode or whatever, so that people can have the time to soak it in.
If you're a collector, remix is a full-time job.
Yeah, exactly. And like you mentioned for the dungeons earlier, you would have preferred if they would have spread it out rather than release all the dungeons almost at the same time.
I mean, I definitely would have preferred that. Whenever you have more time to work on something, it comes out generally more polished, and also the players desire it more. Like if I have to wait, if I know every 4 months or 5 months, every 5 months, a new pet battle dungeon is going to come out theoretically, then it gives me something to look forward to, and I'm like, okay, I got to really start collecting because whenever the next one comes out, I want to make sure that I have the teams ready, and so it drives my collecting, which is, user engagement. Knowing that one's going to come out with the next season, I have to collect because I have to have all the options available. I don't want to be like without something that is going to prevent me from, defeating it easily. And it doesn't require me to like purchase anything, just game time. And, I think that's a great driving force.
Yep, I agree. And again, alongside that, they also gave up on rating for leashes, right?
They did give up on rating for leashes.
Yeah, and I thought that was a fantastic thing.
Yeah, we can talk about that for a second. So rating for leashes is like the second most popular thing I ever see brought up from the user base is when is that coming back? And I definitely think that they should. And I don't know why. I have no idea why they haven't. I literally have no idea.
Yeah, Panda was the last rating for leashes, right?
I think so, yeah. There's not one for Legion.
So 5 expansions, no rating for leashes. Why? Because it's another reason to re-explore the old raids or the dungeons or whatever. Like to me, that was a really great fun experience to do.
They implemented them about whenever, like the time that they implemented the Pandaria one was whenever it was easy enough to like duo, which is kind of where like the rating for with leashes like sort of comes from. You know, it's like you would take your friend in and you would do it, you know, like going back and doing like a Shadowlands raid now, you know? Like you can solo it, but...
Well, Shadowlands is still quite difficult if you're talking mythic-wise, but up to BFA now is very feasible.
But...
something that I had a lot of fun with was to hunt down the pets, and on top you get an achievement for it. And usually I think the achievement also gave you a pet or something. Anyways, again, going back to ways of finding to make the pet battle system a bit more rewarding than it is, and one thing that irks me when I restarted playing, like I find that they made the pet drop rates for a lot of the cool pets so bad that it just feels more of a chore than anything else.
That's true. That is true. Whenever you have to do something 800 times for the chance at the pet, like every night, because I know that my only way to get Thundering Serpent Hatchling is not from Remix, because it's not there, is to check the Black Market Auction House. So every night at 11:30, whenever the Black Market Auction House resets, I check it. I've checked it for the past 400 days, and it hasn't come up. And so I have gotten this chore that I do every night at 11:30 to check the Black Market Auction House. And there's way worse chores in the game. But at least that one's just clicking a vendor. And I think that these really, really rare pets need to not feel like chores.
Yep, I totally agree with you. I still have a few that I'm hunting on my end. I'm missing 3 and I'm done.
Oh, wow. Congrats. Which 3?
Black Fuse from Siege of Orgrimmar, the Corcoran from Siege of Orgrimmar, and the Sky something or other from Hellfire Citadel.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So, do I wish that the do you think that the portal should have been rewarded later in the dungeon than like the first?
Again, I thoroughly enjoyed the way it is now. We're just really what my points were really about replayability value. Like the only one that I keep doing right now because it brings value to me is Willing Caverns for the chance at the very rare pet, which is worth a lot on the auction house. And again, that has replayability value because I can maybe make gold off of it, but the other ones just need that extra reward to make it more worth it. But I did play them all quite a bit. Like I said, I got 3 of each pet before I stopped from the vendors and everything.
I mean, I think that like nobody's going and running the dungeon in Stormwind anymore. Nobody's just going down there for fun. You know, there's no reason to go down there. Like, what is it? Stockades.
Yeah. So you got the Mogs, and when you got the Mogs, you were done with it.
Yeah, and it's just so easy. That one is
a bit different because that one, at least, let's say you're leveling a character because you enjoy leveling, like me. I have many characters that I leveled. That one you can choose to queue for classic dungeons and you do it again, and that's fine. At least there is that option.
That's true. It's for leveling there is the option, but leveling in a pet battle dungeon is like there's no bonus to that. There's no like if I take like a leveling team through the pet battle dungeon, they don't get any bonus. They don't get any.
Yeah, that's another thing they can add in. See.
Yeah,
because I remember back before I quit in Panda, I could level a character just doing pet battles, and then one of my friends explained that he too could do that, but then they decided to nerf it because it was actually almost faster than questing.
I have a tune that I do PvP pet battles on. It's how I do my PvP pet battles, and they've gotten a lot of wins, but they only get experience on a win, and currently they're at level 25. Yeah, they've gotten like 200 wins under them or something.
I know that they're nerfed it because I discussed it with my buddies, and they're like, no, it's not viable anymore to level via the pet battle system.
You can.
Yeah, but like you just said, it's slow.
It is slow.
But I'm saying before I quit, I could easily level to max level with a pet battle, just doing pet battles. It was very good XP.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that it ever needs to be like the main gameplay loop, but there needs to be a loop, you know?
Yeah, we're not saying for it to be main, it's an option. You can either, do dungeons, you can do pet battles, you can do quests, and that's how it used to be before. And that was great. It was fine. One day I'd be bored, I'd just do pet battles. One day I'd be bored, I'd just do dungeons.
I think it's it's a sort of thing like they take things away and then ask why aren't you interacting with the thing anymore? Well, we aren't interacting with the thing anymore because you took away the things, so
yeah, fun detected.
Yeah. So we're not going there anymore. We're not doing it. It would be like in the case of Remix, for instance, people aren't really going to the Timeless Isle as much anymore because there's the whole frog farm isn't there, and all of the other insane bronze farms aren't there. There's the achievements and stuff that people are still doing, so there's still people there, but it's not like 1 million shards with 8,000 people there a second doing all of those farms anymore. And I think that it's sort of like the similar system. Like if whenever they took away the frogs from Remix and people stopped going there, they would just say, okay, well, we're just going to take away Timeless Isle because people don't go there anymore. And I think that's just it's a miscorrelation.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you there.
So, yeah, I there were flaws to the dungeon system, but there were also flaws to dungeons in the main game and the main core loop of the main game. The thing is they kept improving upon it and saying, well, you didn't like this, how about if we did it like that? So they kept iterations. The thing with Pet Battle Dungeons is they never iterated. And
yep.
I think without iteration and fixing the problems that if there is feedback and problems presented, fix the problems, not take away the system. And I think that is part of it. Never gave it a second chance, I suppose.
I agree, absolutely. They stopped being innovative, really.
I don't think that's true. I think that they're maybe with pets they stopped being innovative.
Well, yeah, that's what we're discussing. We're discussing pets specifically.
I thought you were meant to like them as a company.
No, just the pets specifically. They like we discussed already many times. They kind of gave up on it and they stopped the dungeons. They stopped this. They stopped that.
Mm-hmm. With Shadowlands, they weren't even in the alpha and beta. It wasn't until the live version that pets were available for anything like wild pets or anything. They didn't even put them in the alpha and beta.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Isn't that horrible? So it's which to me normally they like to test everything because that. So to me that says that the person working on pets was overworked or understaffed. To me, I think that it's just allocation of resources, really not so much like company decisions, but that there is the choice to not work on it, not necessarily that they are doing a bad job. Nobody's doing a bad job, I think. It's just
it's corporation, right? It's it's all about the money. What brings in the most money? Mm-hmm. But again, it's not a small player base that likes the pet battles, but I guess it's not enough for them to warrant more investment in it.
That's such an inaccurate thing though. Like if you look at the number of people who have the 1000 PvP pet battle wins, it's like 0.2%. But if you for like what is it, data for Azeroth, if you look at like the achievement, it's like 0.2% have that achievement. But for a number of people in a season who have Gladiator, it's like around the same. So but if you look at for pets, in how many people, like for instance, have like 100 pets, which just means like you occasionally do some pet battles and you have what you need, it's like 80% of the population. So I think that there is a large player base. They're just larger than a lot of games I've played altogether. Like the community for pets and pet battles is larger than some communities for some other games entirely. I just don't think that they're vocal enough, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, like you said, hopefully somebody listens to this and says, yeah, you know, seems that there is interest. Hopefully,
that's my goal.
We're discussing it.
that's my goal. You know, is to try to do one of these, maybe every week, maybe every other week, and talk about one of the different things in WoW Pets and what it was, what it is, and maybe how it could be done better. And sometimes, you know, just completely new concepts. Like one thing I want to do is there is this guy on the WoW forums, and he completely wrote up these like whole like documents on how to rebalance like all of the racials for each one of the pets. And I would really love to just like go over all of his documents and like how all the racials could be rebalanced, because I think that that's like just an interesting topic of conversation. So like brainstorms doesn't have to be like, you know, like what that wasn't implemented properly, how could it be fixed? It could be just like, oh, let's brainstorm something. So I'm very excited for this series. I think it's gonna be fun. You want to come back?
Anytime, my friend. I mean, we've known each other now 5-6 years, if not more.
Yeah, something like that, man. Something like that.
Yeah, time flies. So yeah, anytime you need me, I'll be here.
Do you have a 476 in Remix yet?
Oh yeah, it's been a while. I can
oh my
solo
god,
heroic raids.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I can't solo Mythic, but I can solo all the heroic raids.
And just curious, do you have it pulled up your unique pet count?
I don't have. I can have it on hand in 2 seconds.
Okay. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening to us for about an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, this is a ongoing video series. I just felt like the news videos just weren't enough, you know? So if you've listened all the way through till now, thank you. And please tell me in like the comments or anything if you have any ideas or thoughts on the pet dungeon system.
Yeah, I have 1,213 unique pets, and my score is 8158 on the Warcraft bet site.
Ooh, nice. Do you have them leveled, or are you still working on that?
I'm still working on it. Again, I restarted playing. Now it's been a year and a half that I've restarted playing. I have 618 max level pets, so 500 and
all the important ones
left to go. Yeah,
all the important ones. Yeah, I still don't have all of them max level. It's such a slog. That's another video though of how to change leveling now that there's like 1,700 pets in game.
Well, there's Super Squirt, and I like to also use once a day, but I like to level them in Darkmoon Faire, which is ongoing right now.
And Darkmoon Faire is great, but one thought I had, which is for a future video, but like, what if there was a passive system?
Oh yeah, kind of like they have in Hearthstone for the mercenaries. Put your pets in like a stable type deal, and then once a day they would get such and such amount of XP. That would be cool.
Yep. That would, considering there's so many, it would be nice to have alternate ways to level them, because if you're a new player coming in it's very hard to get all of them, especially even with things like Super Squirt, which is kind of boring actually.
Oh yeah, it's just repeat, 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 repeat.
Yeah, it's not a fun enjoying loop. And like if somebody's doing Super Squirt, you know that they love pets because that is really boring.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I usually every time Super Squirt comes around, I do an average of about 100 pets that I level.
Kudos, man. Kudos. I usually get 20.
Yeah, yeah. I got it down to pressing one button.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out. I think we covered pretty much everything there is to talk about on the topic. Yeah, anything you want to say before we head out?
No, again, thanks very much for having me, and hopefully everybody else out there enjoys the pet battle system as well as much as we do.
All right. Thanks, man. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. Much love and peace.